New York City couple's dream wedding has been destroyed by hotel's noise restriction, a $5 million lawsuit claims. So let's check this out. I think this is probably going to be pretty ridiculous, but oh well. So let the wedding bells ring extremely quietly. The daughter of a wealthy Big Apple real estate family's dream nuptials became a nightmare when a Brooklyn hotel failed to disclose a severe noise restriction that forced guests to move to a cramped, dingy room off-site for music and dancing, according to a new lawsuit. It was very, very devastating. Marjorie Newman, the mother of the bride, Jessica Alovis, told the Post. This was supposed to be her night to shine, and it was all taken away from her. Jessica Alovis, 29, and groom Matt Alovis, 30, tied the knot at a lavish ceremony with 200 guests at the Brooklyn Pier 1 Hotel on September 18th for a price of hundreds of thousands of dollars, according to a lawsuit filed on behalf of Marjorie and Russell Newman, who footed the bill for their daughter's big day, including $150,000 on flowers alone. Okay, for those that end up stumbling upon this, right? I do not know why weddings are so expensive. I don't understand why people are trying to justify having weddings so expensive. Okay? Because here's the reality of the situation. If you got the money and it's not going to impact your life at all, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and just burn hundreds of grand for a day. Because this is just going to be for a day, right? Go ahead and do that. You have the power to do that, right? The only problem is, for example, if you checked out the show on Netflix called Owner or Marriage or something like that, or like, Mortgage or Marriage, right? Where you have people basically going to the decision making process of either being homeowners with your partner or spending like 20, 30, 40, maybe even 80 grand on a single day for a wedding when they don't even make 80 grand in a freaking year. Okay? Like, you gotta understand, there is no justification of going balls to the wall for a wedding if you cannot afford it, right? Like, this is a disgusting amount of money for a wedding. Like, imagine if you had $150,000 in front of you, in front of your dining table kind of stuff, right? Or like your kitchen table or your fold up Walmart table, right? Whatever it is you use to eat food on, right? And you had 150 G's right there in front of you. Would you be okay with putting all that money on flowers? On flowers. Just think about that for a second. That is a disgusting amount of money to put on something that is basically worthless, right? That is basically worthless. Absolutely crazy. So let's go into it. But the newlyweds learned after the reception began that a rule restricted audio to a woefully low decibel level that attendees could barely hear, according to the suit filed last Monday in Brooklyn Supreme Court. Now, here's the thing, right? If the venue did not disclose this information when the couple basically planned this, that's pretty messed up, right? Because you gotta think about it. If you're willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to basically have like the time of your life for your special day, you're wanting that money to be spent in a specific type of way to maximize the most amount that you get from it, right? So like imagine if you spend a few $100,000 but you're not actually allowed to do what you want to do. Like that's crazy. That's like spending like 200 grand on a supercar, and they tell you that, oh yeah, by the way, you can't drive on those tires, or you can't actually drive fast in that supercar. Like what? What are you talking about? Or you can't like wear specific shoes in your supercar. Like let's for example say that you bought like a Lamborghini. Well, actually, this is more likely going to happen at like a Ferrari dealership. Just FYI. So let's say you go to the Ferrari dealership and you spend 200, $300,000 to buy a brand new Ferrari, right? And then they basically tell you, oh, by the way, you're not allowed to wear work boots in your Ferrari, even though you spent 200, $300,000 for your Ferrari. Like that's a little bit insane when you really think about it. The music shushing disaster spoils the couple's first dance, and after a DJ refused to turn up the tunes, relegated guests to a small, dark room on the second floor of a building next door, according to the Newmans, who are suing the hotel and their wedding planner, Real Housewives of Miami star Gertie Abraria. Less than an hour into the reception, the wedding was moved from a spacious, well decorated reception space to a bare bones after party room that fit only 60 people and had seating for less than a dozen, the Newman said. I mean, it still looks like they kind of had fun, still, you know? So there was nowhere to sit. There was not one flower in that room. Most of the adults, besides our very good friends and family, left at this point because really no one had a clue what was going on, said Marjorie Newman, adding that her blushing bride daughter couldn't even throw the bouquet after months of tireless planning. The abrupt relocation interrupted the flow of festivities, confused guests, and prevented less mobile seniors from attending, she said. Jessica Lovis, a social worker from Gramercy Park, was devastated that the once in a lifetime celebration turned chaotic. After about a half hour into this, she was hysterical and crying, said Russell Newman, the president and founder of real estate giant Newman Properties. This is not how she envisioned her dream wedding. They pulled the rug out from under us, he said, adding the hotel didn't help them relocate the guests. Jessica Alovis has a problem looking at her wedding album and she gets upset every time she sees the pictures. It was a horrific situation that was avoidable. The noise restriction due to residential condos housed in the building had been passed at least 3 weeks before the wedding in the hotel. Never made us aware, the father of the bride said. They never brought us in to say, like, this is what's going to sound like or not sound like. They never gave us the opportunity to move the venue, he said. The family is now demanding $5 million for the destroyed wedding caused by a breach of contract and the deceptive concealment of these sound restrictions, according to the lawsuit, which also asserts infliction of emotional distress. Now, the main part of this that I think is going to work in their favor is the fact that this noise, like ruling, ended up passing only a couple weeks before this event actually took place, and they were never notified, according to them, about this. So, if that is true, that they were never notified that this change actually took place, who knows? They might actually be able to get the $5 million. Now, there were countless hours spent over at least a 1 year planning period for what should have been a once in a lifetime special event, which was single handedly destroyed by the egregious actions of the defendants, the lawsuit states. Stanford Rubinstein, a lawyer for the family, chalked it up to greed. To turn a beautiful dream into a nightmare and spoil one of the most important days in a girl's life, her wedding day, in my opinion, is an example of corporate greed at its worst, said Rubinstein, who filed this suit with co-counsel Mark Shireen. So reps for Brooklyn Pier 1 Hotel and Abraria didn't return requests for comment. Now, that being said, for those that might end up stumbling upon this in the future, you might be, well, who cares? They're rich, whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's like turn it around, right? Let's put it into like this perspective. Imagine if you got married to someone, whether or not you're a girl or guy or whatever, right? And you're like the bride or whatever, right? And You end up spending like, let's say, your yearly salary amount for a single day, your wedding, right? Imagine if you did that. And they basically purposely do not tell you any changes that might affect your wedding day. Well, you basically got screwed over, right? Now, again, if that is the case in this specific situation, they're probably going to get the $5 million, which would be pretty interesting to see. But just view it in that light, right? Like, change the amounts, change the kind of like, yeah, just change the amounts, right? Don't view it as like the daughter of like potentially like a billionaire or something like that, right? View it in the eyes of you paid your yearly salary for one day, your wedding, to make it special, to make it as special as possible for the person that you care about the most, and then you get purposely lied or not even told and then get screwed over on your day. Like, that's a pretty sad situation. By the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 40inbox.com.